Welcome back to our homestead. Today I'm just gonna take you along as we harvest some raspberry leaf and some fireweed tea that we're gonna ferment into Ivan chai. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and we are a family of 10 living in northern Alberta on a homestead that we have been building by hand for the past 11 years. We recently started eating the carnivore diet and we feel really good eating that way, but we still enjoy drinking hot tea in the winter and kombucha. And recently I found out that you can actually take raspberry leaf and Ivan chai and ferment it into kombucha. And I think that that is so cool because we have struggled for 7 years to grow food in our climate. We live in a zone 2B and it's a pretty harsh climate. I find it very difficult to grow a great quantity of food to can and put away. And since eating carnivore, we have found that carnivore is actually easier to produce because we can raise animals that can eat the vegetation that we readily cannot eat. And then we can eat those animals or eggs, or we would like to do dairy at some point as well. But what I think is really cool is when we have a resource that grows really well around our acreage and area that we can harvest and turn into something that we can consume. So if you're interested to learn about how to make your own kombucha and Ivan chai, I hope that you enjoy this video. Currently, we're in or not fireweed season. We are in fireweed season. That's why we're harvesting it. But we're in firewood season, and it's always a little bit stressful trying to get the winter's wood in because something new for us this year is we're heating our house and we're also heating our shop and greenhouse as well as our water for 12 people and some pretty large spaces. So it's a very necessary chore, and I always like to see if I can do a few things at once. So when we go out and do firewood, I also will harvest wild raspberry leaf and fireweed. So that's what we're out here doing today. And something really neat about this area is the second day that we were out here, or the following day, I really wish I would have had my camera rolling because we saw the biggest grizzly bear I've ever seen in northern Alberta. I've lived here for about 15 years. I've seen a lot of bears. I've seen a lot of grizzly bears. I've never seen one as large as the one that we saw. In fact, if you see that root ball right there that I'm squatted next to, the bear was like taller than that as it was running into the woods whenever we pulled in. I just really couldn't believe it. So anyway, just briefly sharing that. But here is the Ivan chai. Okay, so this is after it's been washed and rolled and it's been fermenting for a few days. That's what it looks like. It has this really lovely floral herbal scent to it. And then here's the kombucha. This kombucha is finished and I'm going to pour it for our supper. And I'm just going to share the process of washing the fireweed that I bring in and wilting it and then rolling it. So here's the fresh fireweed from that day's harvest. I just bring it all in. It's on the stalk so that it's easier for me to just wash in the sink. And once I wash it, I'm just going to put it onto a cloth and I'm just going to kind of cover it all with the cloth so that it's not drying, but it's wilting, because before you roll the fireweed into Ivan chai, you want the leaves to be wilted. And I already have a group of leaves that have been wilting, and I'm going to show that in just a minute. But here is this beautiful Ivan chai kombucha. It's so fragrant and bubbly. And I think it's really cool that I don't have to buy tea to make this, because before I was buying just black tea, oolong tea. I can't remember all the types, but there's certain types of tea. They have to have tannins in it to ferment, and it was getting really expensive. And on top of that, I had read that most black tea has fluoride in it. And the tea that I found that did not have fluoride in it, it was really just out of our budget. So the fact that you can ferment Ivan chai and raspberry leaf is really cool to me. And that's the reason why we're going to take some time to put a lot of this away over the winter. Okay, so my process has been pouring out my finished kombucha and then setting that aside. And I'm going to get to making some more in just a little bit. I actually have a recipe and I'll just write it out in the comments for anyone who might be interested. And once I pour that kombucha, then I'm going to process all of my other leaves. I've got my fresh ones that I'm going to leave out for a day. Those are just right there in front of the camera. And then I've got these that I've already wilted. And then I have my fermented Ivan chai that's going to go into the dehydrator. But before I put anything into the dehydrator, I just take out what we had been dehydrating the previous day. So I have a bunch of that raspberry leaf that's all finished. And I'm going to just take that out of the dehydrator and put it into the jars to set on the shelves. Once I'm done putting away the raspberry leaf, I take my fermented Ivan chai that's all done, and this has been sitting in this bowl right here covered for about 3 days, and every day I'll just go and kind of fluff it up and turn it. It'll get moist, it'll be really fragrant, and you can actually just smell the fermentation process. It shouldn't smell bad or anything. It's actually really lovely. And I just spread that out onto my dehydrator to start the second batch of dehydrated herbs. Once I get the dehydrator full and I have my herbs in the jars and I'm starting to put them up on my shelves, I go to roll the wilted batch of fireweed. And this is sort of a tedious task. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I really like the end product, so I do it. But I'll also have my family jump in and have everybody roll a little bit of it. I just take 2 or 3 leaves at a time off the stalk and then roll them together and then roll them into a ball because you want to try to crush up the cell walls of the plant. It's very similar to if you've ever made sauerkraut. You have to, if you've made it, fermented cabbage, you have to pound the cabbage to break up the cell walls of it to, I guess, release all the enzymes and start the fermentation process. So it's sort of like that. And here it is all rolled up, and we're just going to cover it and put it in a humid spot to ferment for about 2 to 3 days. Okay, then lastly, I'm just going to share brewing a gallon of the Ivan chai and raspberry leaf. And I did look up a recipe for this. I had to modify the recipe because the original recipe they used maple syrup. I did not have maple syrup. I'm going to use sugar to ferment my kombucha. So I will write the weights of this recipe out in the comments. And then you could just take a screenshot if you were interested to try this. I just add my Ivan chai and my raspberry leaf to a gallon jar and fill it with boiling water. And then add in my organic sugar and mix it all around. And then I just let that sit throughout the day until it completely cools. Once my tea has cooled, I just use a fine mesh strainer and strain it right back into that jar with the kombucha tea starter and the kombucha SCOBY. And I just let that sit on my counter for about a week and I just start that process all over. You could just drink the tea just like that, sweet tea. You could just brew it like you would a nice hot cup of tea. It has just a really nice flavor to it, and it is supposed to be really high in vitamins and minerals. And it's just a really lovely tea that we enjoy harvesting and processing on our homestead, and we wanted to share. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.